Hello and welcome back to part two. And I was saying that the Lord's showing me that the person that I am standing in the gap for right now, God's changing their clothes. And it actually brought a new revelation to me in relation to the reference changing their clothes. A lot of us, the Lord's been telling us, God's going to change your garments. God's going to change your garments. And we've been sitting there like, yay, God, you changing my garments. I'm about to get the clothes. Not to say that he won't. God changes your garments first up here. And as I'm watching this particular person go through what they're going through, he's changing his mind first before he changes his circumstance. See, the Lord gave me a vision of this particular person. Number one, the first thing he showed me about this particular person is they're going to lose some weight. Not to say that they're heavy. They just got a little bit of extra weight on them that they need to lose. He showed me this person in a very beautiful outfit where their clothes was different. But in order for him to get that person to that place in which he's shown me, he's got to remove some things from them. Some of you, you've seen your spouse in visions and in dreams, not from who you think that they are right now, but who God showed you they're going to be. And because God showed you such a wonderfully put together person, you're like, where they at? When can I get to them? Oh my God. Blah, 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 blah. And God's saying, they ain't there yet. Hold on. I'm going to work on that. And now God's showing you through somebody else nearby you that's going through a similar situation as your God-ordained spouse. It's just the way that the particular person processes it may be completely different than the way your God-ordained spouse does. Because maybe the person that he's processing that's nearby you ain't walking that close with God. But your God-ordained spouse, they walking with God. They know how to take a few hits and understand, okay, God, I didn't do that right. The person you're walking nearby, they ain't walking with God like that. So they don't take quite a few more hits because God's like, I need to get this through to you ASAP. But you got a spouse. They understand when they're getting hit by God. And they're like, okay, I did that wrong. I admit it. Okay, look, what do I got to do to fix this problem? See, you got a spouse may be going through something, but they know how to process it. That's why I believe when I see visions of my God-ordained spouse in movement, he's moving quickly. Because he's walking with God in such a way that he don't need to be hit 15 times for him to get the point. Because he's been walking with God long enough that he knows, okay, when I get that kind of hit, okay, I need to fix myself. But let's say you got somebody that God's trying to deal with, and that person is nearby you. They got to get hit and hit and hit and hit and hit. And you're sitting there like, wow, that would all be fixed if you would actually go to God authentically and have a conversation with him. But your stubbornness and your pride is interesting. I was watching a video from Tiffany Montgomery. And I would suggest any of y'all standing for marriage, go watch her Year of the Bride videos. But don't just go watch, do. Okay? Do what she says. Start from the first video through. And I suggest that you take the challenge to stand for your marriages for that level of amount of days. Do exactly what she says to do. And see that you don't see your marriages come together. But in the midst, understand you're going to see a breaking. Which brings me to my next point. You can't have a breakthrough without a breaking. You're asking the Lord to deal with a situation. You are. But you can't sit there and get mad when God starts dealing with the situation. And it doesn't feel good. Not to you, not to the other person. But you're faithful. You're standing in the gap. You know how to stand in the gap. This is what the Lord has trained you to do. You're a warrior on the spiritual battlefield. You understand that. But you also have to be observant. Which brings me back to what I was saying in the previous video, that in the dream that I had, I was so emotionally happy that I wasn't even hearing what the man said, because my head was somewhere. Some of y'all's head so far in the clouds about this God-ordained marriage that you're not understand with it comes a level of stress. It's not going to be beautiful flowers and all of this. Yes, the wedding will be. Yes, your husband gonna give you flowers. Yes, your husband's gonna love on you. And you're gonna get the ring and you're gonna get all of this. And he's gonna treat you wonderfully. But that doesn't what's the word I'm looking for? Exclude you from problems. And you're sitting there wondering while you're watching whatever family member it is go through whatever it is that they're going through. And you just trying to avoid their problem. Maybe the reason that the Lord has you sitting there in the midst of the problem is because he wants to show you and to test to see what you gonna do in the middle of a problem that you can't solve. What are you gonna do when you can't communicate in that moment? But God, I thought our marriage was supposed to be about communication. Maybe the way that person deals with stuff is not to communicate with you in that moment. I remember I was watching an old episode of the show I used to watch when I was a kid. And the couple was going through an issue. It was the God-ordained marriage couple I always talk about. And what it was the woman, she wanted to know what was going on. So when she saw that her God-ordained spouse was going through problems, and they were in a separation. Oh, lo and behold, look at that. They were in a separation. She had viewpoint, even in their separation, to the fact of the things that they were going through. Because, in our case, it's the Lord, was showing. The Lord has shown you some of the things. You're not there. But there came a moment in time in that same episode where the guy did come to her. But he came because he was being haunted by specific things from his past that he needed to deal with. And his confusion in the midst of his own demons messing with him. left him in a state of mind where he could not form a sentence to talk to her. She saw how much distress his face was in. And she said, could you please just talk to me? And that's the way a lot of y'all are feeling right now. You're either associated with a situation where the person that you're wanting to help, you can't talk to them because they don't know how to talk to you about it. And it's funny because one of the women I was listening to the other day was talking about they don't know how to communicate the way that we do. Men don't know how to communicate their feelings like we know how to communicate. And the dream that they had when they were communicating with their ordained spouse, it was like the person was speaking another language. They're trying to communicate, but you're not listening. Some of us who have spiritual communication with our God-ordained spouse, they're trying to communicate in the spirit. You're ignoring it. You're ignoring the emotion you feel. You're ignoring the frustration you feel. You're ignoring all of that because you're pushing it away because I can't deal with that. They're not here. So is this what you're going to do when they get there? Oh, they're going through something. I can't deal with that because some of y'all are in situations right now where God's kind of got you nearby somebody and you're like, I can't deal with that. Crickets? How you gonna deal with that? Because if you can't deal with it with the people that are around you, what you gonna do when God sets you with your spouse? And you got an even more spiritual connection. And oh, wait, what happens when you get pregnant? Huh? And your emotions are so off the chart. And depending on how many babies you're gonna have, that means your emotional stability is on. Try me today. Just try me today. And then what if your God-ordained spouse is going through something? I'm going to tell you something. I remember I was watching Maya Washington. And she and her husband recently got married within the past 2 to 3 years. And they had a baby. She went through such emotions. They call it the 4th trimester. Right after she had the baby, because she was dealing with the emotional effects of having hormonal imbalance, the loss of the placenta messes with your hormonal imbalance because it was carrying a lot of the hormones and it was abruptly removed. So she was dealing with the hormonal imbalance. She was dealing with, I'm sure she was dealing with what a lot of women go through when you have a baby, which is the bleed, which is like going through your period for another 6 weeks. Then also dealing with the emotions of just having to deal with trying to take care of the baby and the adjustment period. So she was emotionally going through a lot. But a lot of women go through a lot. And we forget that the men are there also with us going through a lot. And we go through a lot emotionally and physically during the pregnancy. But these are things that are needed to be dealt with. And some men don't want to appear weak, so they ain't going to show emotions. And some of y'all know that the people that you've come into contact with or have association with that are going through it right now, that the Lord's showing you that they're going through it right now. These are men that were taught, oh, don't show your emotions. You will be weak if you show your emotion. Men don't cry. Men don't blah, 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 blah. Men don't blah, 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 blah. And you're seeing the revelation of that. You're seeing it. And God's dealing with it right now in them. And God's giving you a juxtaposition. But you can't push those things away. Because I guarantee you, if you're not dealing with the situation that's in front of you, when you get to your God-ordained spouse, you're going to have levels. You're going to have 1, just dealing with them. 2, once you're pregnant and dealing with them. 3, once you're out of your pregnancy and dealing with them with kids in the picture. Because when you're pregnant, your hormones are in a different space. And when you come out of it, your hormones go through a complete different transformation until you get back to your balance of stasis, which sometimes takes a vitamin balance before you're back to normal regulation. You may not feel like yourself for a year and a half if you're not taking the right vitamins. A lot of people want to sit up there and be like, oh, go to a therapist, go to the take your vitamins, take your supplements, eat right. I'm not saying you don't need to talk. That too, you need to talk to people that are going through or have gone through what you went through. And everybody's situation is different. Because some people went through specific things, others didn't. During their pregnancy. And the way that those things affected them during that experience. And then on top of that, dealing with emotional transitions and so on and so forth. And also dealing with another person because you don't forget your husband's still there. I saw an article years ago talking about when you're going through pregnancy that it can be almost a war zone and making sure you got a marriage after you have a baby. Because of a lot of people talk about, oh, the pregnancy is so wonderful. The pregnancy is... It can be. It can be. But for some cases, it may not feel like it. Depending on how your emotional jump up and down. How you're balancing your emotions, how you're dealing with them. And some of y'all, that's one of the reasons God's kept you away from your God-ordained spouse is because the way that you deal with your emotions, if he didn't get you to a point that you could handle your emotions, to a point that you had discipline with them, when you did get pregnant, you'd have been all over the place. And you would have felt righteously in the right to be that way. Because like, oh, I'm pregnant, I can do that. What if your God-ordained spouse's triggers is somebody that acts recklessly with their emotions? And then they become the blame. And God's trying to say, I need you to not do that. So I'm going to teach you a discipline right now. My word wouldn't even go here. Look at where God's going. I need to teach you that right now. I need to show you some things. I need to prep you for that. Wait, what? Because you can't do what you was doing. This ain't a single situation anymore. A lot of y'all, I can do bad all by myself. How long you stay by yourself? Because a lot of y'all are standing for kingdom marriages because of the fact that you're tired of being by yourself. But in order to not be by yourself, you got to learn how to deal with people. And you can't be in situations where you see somebody going through something and you'll be like, let me distance myself from that situation. And God's saying, nah, I got you sitting right in the middle of that situation because I need you, 1, to observe it, 2, to pray into it, 3, I need you to watch and gain understanding from it so you can take the lesson you learn in observing it into your marriage because you're going to need it. But God, I'm uncomfortable. And you're looking for a breakthrough and you thought you weren't going to get uncomfortable. But God, I want to. And if you don't deal with this and go through this experience, you're not going to understand how to deal with what you're going to experience in the marriage. You ever hear them say that when a pregnant woman, let me see if I can get this correct. When a pregnant woman is pregnant, they don't have the inception of the baby being put into their womb and the next 24 hours they give birth. Why does this not happen? Only time we saw this was in the movie Twilight. But it's a great explanation for the fact of if you've watched the movie Twilight, you understand that when Bella was pregnant and her body went through the transformation it went through at the pace it did, it could not handle it. The woman nearly died because it was so fast. Aside from other things, it was so fast that her body was breaking down. Breaking. A lot of us have been going through and are in a phase of a breaking, but we're also in labor. A lot of us, when we go into contractions for labor, start screaming at God, no, God, what is going on? Oh my God, everything's freaking out. Oh my God, everything's falling apart. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. That's a sign that you're in labor, that God's about to birth this situation. A lot of us, bless our little hearts, Christians, are asking for breakthroughs and expect that God's going to drop you from this situation into that situation, and there's going to be no distress between the 2 points. Though we went through levels of distress getting to this point. We're like, can we get there without the distress part? We went through the distress. I thought we earned our badge on distress. Can we just... And God's like, ha! It's so cute of you. Oh my God, it's like you weren't going to go through anything to get there. You thought you was go in the spirit realm, fight, tear down, destroy a whole bunch of stuff, and the enemy was just going to let you just walk on through, cross on over, just go. Because we're bringing the kingdom of God onto heaven as it is in earth. And you thought you was just going to mosey on in. Mosey on into the marriage that is more than likely going to be so powerful and destructive to the kingdom of darkness that he's just going to be like, go ahead. And you're wondering why God's testing you in your relationships right now. Removing relationships. Adding things. Shifting things. Because as you stand in the gap, remember, you're standing in the gap for your God-ordained spouse, right? And some of you are standing in the gap for family members. And I'm standing in the gap for the family member that I'm watching go through the stress. And it's one of those, and when you see that, and the people that I listen to have been saying that God's been using you to be the thing to help break off the generational curses in that person's life. And when you see them going through it, you sit up there and start praying oh my God, they're going through it, please don't. And God's like, you prayed for me to deal with this situation, and now this is why you couldn't be around your goddamn spouse. Oh, I'm sorry if you didn't realize that this is exactly why. Because the things that God had to do to that person to get them ready to walk into a relationship with you, oh, you'd have been over there screaming. It's like, oh my God, they gotta go through this. In their personal quiet time and revelation with the Lord, they had to go through a whole lot. Because some people, their public life looks pristine, but their private life is trash. And God's like, I gotta clean this trash up before I let my daughter into this experience. We know they've had counterfeits. We know they were dealing with whatever type of things. We know they were experiencing this, that, and the other. And God's like, I had to strip them. And sorry, I know you were like, I want to be there because you saw the pretty pictures that they had on their social media, the nice vacations that they were on. But some of y'all saw behind the pretty pictures. Didn't matter how much they were smiling. Didn't matter how much. Because you connected to them in the spirit. You looked at that photo and you said, he's smiling, but something ain't right. God, what's going on with him? He got a look on his face, but that don't look right. His countenance is off. What's up? Why? Because God had to give you that level of discernment because he needed you to pray. So y'all sitting up there wondering why the people around you going through, you standing in the gap for them and they have to go through it. Did we not just go through this song? I have to go through it with somebody. I ain't trying to sing right now. Yes, I do know how to sing. I'm not trying to right now. I'm trying to make a point and I'm being a little bit funny, okay? People got to go through. Go through. You got to go through to get your breakthrough. You ask for a breakthrough. What's the prefix break? What's the end part of the word? Through. Breakthrough. You must be broken and you must go through it. So when you're seeing the person that you love being broken down, so that their mind, their heart, their spirit, all of them can change. When you know that your God ordained spouse is being broken down, and they're going through the process. Just like you had to go through the process. You thought you were holier than thou that because you had to go through the process. That they ain't got to go through the process. You all got to go through the process. We all in this together, y'all. And this is a process. Everybody's in different phases. Blessed be to God. You got a spouse. Some of them are moving quicker through their process than you had to go through. Some of us, we had to go through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years of processing in order to deal with the parts of our heart and the generational curses brought on from familial spirits that were attached to our bloodlines that we had to break. Because some of it, yeah, it was us. But some of it came from the roots, came from what the ones before us did. And you think that as you're standing in the gap for your God-ordained spouse and the things that they didn't deal with, that what? it was going to be easy. You was just going to cross over into that. Not to mention, what you think he was crossing over into if you weren't taking the time to deal with the things that they hadn't dealt with in their bloodlines? Because some of your God-ordained spouses got cultural bloodlines that are embedded in witchcraft. I know for mine that's the case. 2 bloodlines that are deeply in witchcraft. And I've been standing in the gap for that. So what you think that in your prayer to pray against whatever those things were, that they may not have even recognized, and all of a sudden these things starts getting snatched out of their life, and they're trying to figure out, why is all hell breaking loose? Oh my God, what is this? Why is this happening? You got family members, all hell breaking loose in their life. Because you pulled it up. You got into that root. You tore them deeply rooted sycamore trees up from the root. Dug them all the way out. And now they going through and you sitting there, they're like, yeah, don't make nothing going through. I got to deal with the demons that are attached to them and sever the ties to the demons that are attached to them. Let me do it. This is why you couldn't see your spouse, because you wouldn't have been able to handle what they were going through. Oh my God, you'd have been laid out in the floor, not in the laid out in prostrate posture. You'd have been laid out in the floor. Oh my God, why is it going through this? Oh my God. Because all hell breaking loose because you dug up all of the spiritual stuff in their past and they getting it ripped off like a band-aid, and it hurts. It's like a person going through accelerated healing from something that's making them extremely sick. But have you ever noticed sickness brings about quick healing, but they had to go through the sickness in order for them to be healed, because all of it's about healing. But sometimes we don't like seeing people go through that part. Those are some of the things that we don't like seeing. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. I hope this blessed you. I think I covered everything I wanted to touch on. If there's anything else, I'll come back with another video. Until next time, much love, faith, peace, and blessings to you. Bye-bye.